Brotherhood. This is where we have casually dope conversations. It's all those conversations that we have in the barber shop and we have amongst the brothers. But now it just so happens we're recording and trying to put it out so the world can see and see and participate in these conversations
Right,
that we need to be having, but we may not necessarily have on the regular. So
right, right.
So I guess I'll start by introducing our esteemed guest for today. Man, this brother, he is a product of Flint Community Schools. He's graduated from Central. Now you on the line with some Vikings, so we can't let that slide without giving you a little bit of grief. But we
That's
go
all
let
right. I won't hold it against y'all.
But we are talking to him. He is a retired Flint police officer of 24 years. He grew up in the Anderson neighborhood and the Gundry neighborhood. I go by elementary schools,
Right.
everybody know. Yeah, so and but not last, but surely not least, he is the owner, proprietor, hat maker of Wolf and Fox hats, man. And you can see he got on a little piece right now. So once again, man, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate you all for having me. My pleasure.
So I guess we'll jump right into the conversation. So Wolf and Fox hats. So how long have you been in this hat space? Have you been, were you a hat guy before, or did you just get into it? Kind of tell us a little bit about what you got going on as far as the hat game goes.
I've been kind of messing around with hats as far as wearing them. My earliest recollection, I'm going to say, is somewhere around third or fourth grade. And to make a long story short, a relative of mine from Texas brought me a black cowboy hat. And there was just a passion, some type of thing that was going on with me in that black cowboy hat when I was in the fourth grade. And I demanded of my grandmother that I be able to take my school picture in that cowboy hat. And that was in the fourth grade. Okay. So that's when I really, start understanding that I had this passion for hats. And, off and on all throughout my, adult years, that's how, hats came about. But as far as starting a hat company, I had hats as an adult and wore hats with suits. But here lately, hats have taken a different turn, if I can say that. They have taken a more urban tone. They have taken a more relaxed feel that they can be worn with anything. So that's really truly what got me back into hats. Because as of up until last year, in 2020, I hadn't, for about the last 10 or 12 years, I hadn't even looked at a hat, hadn't messed around with a hat. And that's what kind of got me. I saw a hat that I wanted. And after I got to looking for it, I finally found it. And needless to say, it was about $1,200. And I said, well, I got to do something different than that. $1,200 just to, throw it in the air. I got to figure something out. So at that particular time, because I wanted to get back into hats, my passion for hat making, little did I know, was, bottled up inside of me. And at that particular time, it was birthed. So we'll say summer of last year.
Okay. That's interesting. And I know we kind of sent you a questionnaire, and when the part of the questionnaire when you said that you had been making hats for a year now, full disclosure, we text back and forth,
right.
And you sent me some hats, and I'm like, that's cold. Like, and when I read that it was just a year, I was like, man, a year in and he's got something like this. I'm like, what can you imagine in 5 years
I appreciate that.
what that's gonna turn into? Because when you're doing something that you're passionate about and you love, you never work a day in your life. So
Right.
you
Right.
just see that passion, man, oozing out of those posts and those hats that you sell. I'm like, man, golly, a year. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's an art form, man, and you are well on your way to mastering it.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I do.
So now my next question, or our next question, would be kind of what does a hat do to an outfit? You can, you think you clean, you got on your double-breasted suit, you got your shoes, they
Right.
nice and shiny. But what does a well-worn hat do for a gentleman?
Um, a hat, in my opinion, it can do one of two things. It can either set your outfit, really take it to the next level, or if it's the right hat, it can make your outfit look like you need to go back to the drawing board.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's what a hat does.
Okay.
A hat is a conversation piece.
Hmm.
In my opinion, a hat is the outfit, and the outfit is the accessories. I put it that way. Most of the time, we think the outfit is what we're doing. I'm sure all of us can remember getting a new outfit, laying it out on the bed. You had to have the right socks with it. You had to have the right shoes with it. Most of the time for most of us, we had to make sure we had the right ball cap with it, and all these things. The right bracelet and the right watch. All these things, really, what they did was they were just an assistant to the outfit. In my opinion, the outfit is an assistant to the hat.
Oh.
Yeah, I can see that
Yeah.
for definitely for a hat. Well, for me, it would be that hat and those shoes. They
Yeah.
have to make that. They have to make that statement together,
Right.
and everything else will be the accessories to those.
Yeah,
So I
you gotta have the
definitely,
shoes.
yeah,
You gotta have the shoes. If you got some run over, broke down shoes, it ain't really popping on nothing.
yeah.
That's
What? Go ahead, James.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
What was the first hat that you made, and how do you feel about that hat now?
The first hat I made was, I had an old hat in my closet that I used to wear. It was a Dobbs, and it was a nice hat. It was a nice hat, cream color, Dobbs, and I started putting some thought into it, and did some things to it, put a new band on it, stripped all the original, pieces off of it, put a new band on it, put some jewelry on it, did some stitching on it. And, at that particular time, I thought it was fire. I really did. I just, to be honest, I just knew I had something.
Mhm.
Now, after a year into it, I almost don't even want to sit it anywhere near what I'm doing now.
Oh wow! So you still own that hat?
I could bring it out and show it to you right now. I still have it.
That's broke.
Hey, don't get rid of that hat.
No,
that hat
never.
means everything. Yeah.
Never. It will be in a glass case somewhere one day.
Right. That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, man. At some point, when you get to where you're going, you were like, "This is where I started.
Right.
Now this is where I am," and
Right,
you want
exactly.
one.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wolf and fox hats. So what is it about the name? Where did you come up with that name, and what does that mean / symbolize for you?
Wolf and fox. My wife and my daughter, we were on vacation last year. We went on a little camping trip up in Mackinac. And we went over to the island, caught the boat over to the island. And, we had been talking about this hat company, or should I say I had been talking about it. I'm sure they were tired of hearing about it. since I wasn't producing anything yet. But you know, a lot of times we have to talk things out to the people that are closest to us, that are important to us, you know, before things really materialize. So, you know, I've been talking this hat thing out with them for a while, and we were on Mackinac Island. And when you first get off of the boat on Mackinac Island, if you walk through the city, there's a fort up the city on the top of the hill. And if you go up to that fort, there's some like old military barracks back there. And on the edge of the grass, there's a fox. And I stood there and looked at that fox because it looked so real. You know, this fox was it was mesmerizing to me. I had never been that close to a fox. I thought it was a real fox, but after, you know, standing there for a minute, I figured out it was a statue, a yard statue. And this fox was just so beautiful. So I started tossing that around with my wife and my daughter, and just fox by itself, you know, didn't sound like it should sound. So, you know, through us having the conversation, you know, about fox hats, I believe it was the Holy Spirit said that the fox had a female connotation to it. And on the flip side of the coin, a wolf, which a fox and a wolf look similar. You know what I'm saying? And a wolf always has a male kind of rough around the edges, forceful type of connotation to it. So that's how wolf and fox hats were born. That's how that particular name was born. When the Holy Spirit gave it to me, I said wolf and fox hat, and my wife and my daughter both were like, that's it. So that's how Wolf and Fox, the name, was born.
Okay.
Like that.
I like that's, I mean, I always like, man, when you come across you know, proprietors, and they always have a story. Well, this is how I got to this point. You know, these people that didn't really have to, you know, earn anything, so to speak, and they just was like, you can tell the genuineness in the product, you know, when you're buying and when you're wearing, you're like, man, you feel like this was made out of love. So with that, you're one of one. You're one of one hat maker. So does that mean that Wolf and Fox is exclusive? I mean, are we going to get the same hat 1,700 times, or,
No,
you know,
sir.
okay.
No, sir. The way I would like to do it is, if you are contracting me, if I can use that phrase, to make you a custom hat, that custom hat that you want, that you and I sit down and design together, will be a one-off. It's like a totally custom car. What'll happen is you and I will sit down and talk, and we're going to figure out where you are, what your desire is, what your color palette is, different things like that. Now, at that point, what I would like to do is, once we get to that point, I would really like the customer who's getting a custom hat to allow me to take a few liberties with it. You know, because that right there is going to give it a little tweak, a little added edge, something that not everybody's going to get. And it's my promise to the customer that if the customer is purchasing a custom hat from Wolf and Fox, from Al Williams, that nobody else will have that hat. When someone comes along and says, I want that same hat that you made for James, if that's a custom hat for James, then what I'm going to say is, we can get something close or similar, but that particular hat that you want me to make needs to be all you. So then we need to figure out what all you is. All you is different from every brother on this podcast tonight, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not going to see now, if it's 4 or 5 or 10 hats that you see listed on our website, once that website gets up and rolling, even those hats will be at an extremely limited number.
Okay.
Okay. That's good. So as a customer, me being new to this hat world, even amongst this conversation.
Mhm.
Me being a customer, where do I start in purchasing a hat, or what do I do or seek for as a customer? What do I need to do to not be, I don't want to act like I know what I'm doing and I don't
Mhm.
know what I'm doing. So me coming to you as a new customer, where would I start at in the hat world to
Because I
purchase a
have
hat?
such a passion for hats, and
Okay.
because I have such a passion for the customer, you start by saying, I want a hat. Okay. And from that point, you have to know who you are. Is your flavor mostly jean outfits and tennis shoes, or are you going to be trying to play it on both sides? You're going to be putting it with some slacks here and there, or in a dress shirt, or is it just going to be with some with some sweatshirts and some sweatpants? So there's a lot of different variables. Only because what you have is you have a hat that can be totally black tie versus a hat that can be I don't want to use the word grunge, but I'll use that word. All of us kind of know what grunge is.
Mhm.
And there's some hat makers out there that totally do grunge, and it may not be your flavor. So you have to kind of know where you fit into that, what lane you normally operate in as far as your style. So that would be the first step. Then from that point, of course, we're going to get your size. We're going to get you measured up to see, what size best works for you. We're going to look at your frame, because some people can't wear a 4-inch brim like James can. Some people just can't play it. I can't wear a 4-inch brim. Some people can. But those are the basics, because our hats will be kind of sort of a work of art.
Kind of about it. It is. Give yourself the credit.
Well, I appreciate it.
Give
I
yourself the
appreciate
credit.
it. Because that's the case with our hats, then we wouldn't want you to be in a position where your accessories never work with your hat. Because some folks just want a strictly suit hat, something kind of basic. Even our basic hats are going to not necessarily be basic. So that's one thing the customer has to understand. We're not just doing a basic hat with a basic cross grain band around it. We're gonna have to do something a little bit more than that as Wolf and Fox.
Okay. So every hat has its own personality.
Every hat has its own personality.
Okay.
Definitely.
And like I said, I'm by no means am I a hat expert, but when I've just started wearing them and figuring out, and one of the guys I buy hats from, he was just like, next time, because I was telling him, I want to get to the point where I can put on a pair of jeans and wear a hat.
Definitely.
And he was like, next time you have that feeling where it don't go, he said, just do it anyways and watch the compliments. And I did it, and I was like, oh, okay, that works. So I feel like getting into the hat game is a trial and error process to figure out what works best for whatever it is you do, because a lot of people that I look at, I look to Sid the Entertainer a lot, because I'm like, he always has a hat on,
right,
and it's clean. And we had a conversation, about that, Al, and I was just, and the way you put it, I'm one of those people where I don't, if I got something, it's mine.
Right.
So and when we were talking about that, and you were saying how, people wear hats and it can be, 15, 20, 25 in that same room, so be it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. So just like I said, that's just a trial and error process. But what I did want to touch on, so getting back to the basics. So, and it's funny because we were in the barbershop today, this whole thing came about. This man had a tape measure in his pocket. Now, this is when
Ready.
He's serious about his biz. He pulled out a tape measure. But so along those lines, so I'm new into the hat game.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I wear a large size hat. Now, is that how you size your hats, or how do we size a wolf and fox, or even just any brim? How do we size these hats? Do we just go off large, extra large, large, or are we fitted?
Even with the large, extra large, medium, small, even with those standards still will fit into a framework of a numbers, a size, as it relates to a number, whether it be centimeters or inches. But what I would like to do is, because there are definitely different head sizes. So I measure in centimeters, because the equipment that it takes to make a hat is produced in centimeters. So what happens is, centimeters can be converted to inches. We all know that can take place, but to actually get a measurement, I measure off of centimeters. You're going to get a more precise, measurement. You're going to get in between those quarter inches where you get to those eighth inches. And even with my hats, because I am new to the hat game as far as making and building and designing hats, there are some hat makers that will even get more specific, even get more precise with the measurement of your hat. They have an actual machine or a tool, looks like something out of the Frankenstein era, where they actually put it on your head, and it has all these little pins around it, and they push them in to get every little bump and crease. But again, when we're talking about those hats, we're talking $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 hats again, because this person has that particular expertise. It's called a conformer, where it will sit on your head, and if you got clocked upside the head with an aluminum baseball bat, playing in the fourth grade, and that knot never went away, you too can still get a hat.
That hat will only fit you.
Only fit you. Yeah, only fit you. So what I like to do in sizing a hat, because sometimes you fall in between a size. And what'll happen is, if you actually put the hat on, I like to wear my hats a little large. And that gives me room. I don't like anything tight on my head. Mm. So you can put what's called a foam sizer inside the sweatband of the hat that will tighten it up on your head just enough, but it's not going to make it tight. I don't like, see how this hat is not real tight? I don't like a real tight hat. It's uncomfortable.
Okay, just for the records, since I want you to show the people the top of that hat, if you don't mind. Just because it's something that I've never seen. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And what is this called?
This hat right here is called the boxcar. I named it the boxcar. It's a modern play on, I don't know if you recall years ago, seeing, hobos. They had on hats. Yes. And the hat was smashed and pushed, and, just really, really looked like it had been through some things. Mm-hmm. So this is one of my versions of the boxcar. I mean, of the hobo hat, which I named the boxcar because my daughter told me the word hobo was wasn't politically correct right now. So I took that into consideration and just came up with a play on hobos. Hobos traveled on train tracks. They rode in boxcars and lived in boxcars. So this is the boxcar.
Nice.
Like it.
Okay. Like I said, I like the way you're building on these things already before you're fully launched, because it creates that anticipation for what am I getting myself into? Am I going to be broke because I'm buying hats, which I probably will, but I'm okay with that. But I just think that the hat these days, brings us back to kind of a sense of pride. You put on a hat, you immediately know you clean.
Right.
And these kids, and I know the younger generation, they're wearing the clothes how they want to wear them and all this other stuff, and that's their thing. But I want to command the room without, I walk in the room and people know I'm there,
Right.
but I want the clothes and the hat and all because back in the day, black men, all they wore were suits.
Right.
Even if you were baling hay, you saw a black man with a nice button-down shirt, suspenders, his sleeves rolled up because he was working, but
Right.
he was always sharp. Always in a hat, and he was always sharp.
Always sharp, yeah.
And I think that I don't want to get too far away from that heritage. And I think the hat and the styles that you're producing now is giving somebody in our age range, you know what, that's pretty, let me see what that look like with a pair of J's or
Right.
with a pair of Wallabies. Let me see what that looks like, because I think that it just commands a certain level of respect that you will have to give me when you see me in order to deal with me. So
when we see you in a wolf and fox hat.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
And most definitely, when I do get ready for my custom hat, it will be basically based off whatever pair of Wallabies I want that hat to mimic.
Okay.
All right.
Because those Clark's Wallabies are my love.
Okay. Okay.
And I know that a custom hat to go with those, it don't matter what I got between.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really hadn't thought, yeah, I wear a hat, but I hadn't really thought about the shoe aspect of it. I'm like, you
Yeah.
gotta, a lot of times if the box is pretty enough, people don't care what's in the box. I mean, and and they're like, you can have on, something and still be. They're like, man, you see his shoe, you see his
Yeah.
hat.
Yeah.
I mean, so I hadn't really thought about that aspect of it, but that is, again, that's one of those things where just getting into it and learning about, how to wear it, which will lead me to the next question is, how do you wear it? Is there a certain way? Do I wear it all the way down on my eyebrows? Is it sitting on my ears? I mean, what if I want to put a little gangster lean on, because, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm, yeah.
Definitely. The only thing, and I knew we would get to this question, and I've been trying to stay away from the answer because it's personal preference again. But there's only one way that I don't like for a man to wear a hat. Women, I think it's okay, but there's only one way that my personal preference for a man to wear a hat that really doesn't do it for me. And that's like this.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew that was coming.
That's
I
the
figured
only
that you would
way.
say that.
That's the only thing that I don't like about a guy wearing a hat is when you see it worn like that. Any other way, it's fine. You can wear it down. You can
I'll
wear it
take
down
that.
to your ears. You can put a little stank on it. Whatever you decide to do, except
I feel
that.
that serves no purpose. That serves no purpose.
No. Again, because I believe a hat is the outfit. It needs to be worn
Absolutely.
properly.
Okay. Somehow I knew that was coming up though. I'm glad I was right, because I was like,
Yeah.
I bet I know what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
So
So again, if you wear your hats a little loose, of course they're gonna come down a little bit more. And certain crowns on hats will let you wear them down further, or depending on if it's a shallow crown hat, it may not allow you to pull it down where you desire for it to be down at. So again, that goes back to, do I do a 4.5-inch crown? Do I do a 4-inch crown? Do I do a 5-inch crown or a 6-inch crown? Again, it comes back to the way, you know, what your design flavor is. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Definitely. Because I was Googling earlier about hats. Now, do you make hats for women?
I do. I don't necessarily make a woman's hat.
Okay.
And I say it like this because hats are, I don't believe there's a male and a female to felt hats or to straw fedoras. You know, so there's not a certain hat that's going to look good on a woman and a certain hat that's going to look good on a man. Again, I believe hats go back to style. Whatever your style and your flavor is, that's the hat for you. And I'm talking about colors too. You know, a man can wear a pink hat, a hot pink hat, if he can work it into, you know. Yeah. So, you know, hats go back to style, not male and female, especially fedora, felt type hats.
Because as I was reading today, it's I guess originated to where a hatter made hats for men, and a milliner or milliner made hats for women. Milliner, okay, made hats for women. That's why I asked that question also.
I think in today's hat world, the lines are so blurred with who's making what, that we can go back to those original definitions for, you know, for male hat makers and female hat makers, but it all crosses the line now.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I've made some hats and showed them to some women what I thought men would want, and the women like them better than the men like them, because they like a manly looking hat. You know, so again, it goes back to personal style. I've seen some hats out there. Some of my bands get into flowers. Actually, this particular band right here has some flowers on it, but because of the way it's twisted and ripped, you really don't see the flower as a whole. You just kind of see the colors and shapes.
Okay. And what drives the price of a hat?
What drives the price of a hat? Quality of materials.
Okay.
You can have a wool hat, wool felt, and a lot of the companies now, that's pretty much the only thing that they're making hats out of is the wool felt. Even though they're charging the you know, the up prices, you know, the higher end prices on their hats, the majority of the company hats are strictly wool. But you have wool, you have rabbit, then you have a rabbit and beaver blend, and then you have an all beaver felt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, with you being a hat maker, what is the process for you when you get ready to say, I'm make a hat? What's a brief description of how you come about making whatever hat it is that's on your list to make?
First, the hat needs to be blocked. What blocking is, and I didn't grab one. Can I grab a block?
Sure,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yep. Most definitely. Absolutely.
Man, I'm still learning, so I feel like a rookie.
Yeah.
And I wear hats, man. And I wear hats, though. You know what I'm saying?
Great education for people.
Man, it's gonna be a great education.
Absolutely.
This is a hat block.
Okay.
Okay. And what has to happen is you have the felt. Which this is a hat body.
Okay.
just kind of a random type of hat shape. This is a 100% rabbit felt hat body. Doesn't have a size to it. You can do pretty much whatever you want to the shape because it's not made into a hat just yet.
Oh,
So what will happen is this hat body is because it's fur, you have to steam it. And what steaming does is steaming opens up the pores and the body of the fur itself, which once it's steamed, it becomes flexible and it allows you to stretch it over the hat block. See, right now, it's just a random, there's no shape to it.
Mhm.
But once you steam it and stretch it, and the stretching process is a physical, it's a extremely physical process because even though the fibers of the hat body open up and allow it to be more flexible and pliable, it still has to be stretched into a shape. So it has to actually be forced over this block and steamed again and forced some more and steamed again and molded, you know.
mhm.
That makes it into the shape of a hat. And then once it's on the block, it has to dry. You have to give the hat an opportunity to dry so it will hold its shape.
Okay.
Then once it dries, then you start putting your flavor on. You start deciding, you know, is this going to be, what's this brim going to look like? Is it going to be a 4-inch brim? Is it going to be a 3-inch brim? You know, what type of design, where am I going with this particular hat that I just took the time to stretch? So once it dries, the process is it has to be pounced. What pouncing is because that is fur, it has to be sanded down. That process takes about an hour, hour and a half to actually pounce a hat. And you're actually sanding it and sanding the fibers off of the hat to make the hat smooth. You really want a smooth hat. If you get a hat that looks like a wool sweater, you know how you can wear a wool sweater and the fibers in it start to
Lift
kind of
up.
get that rolled up a
Mhm.
little bit, then that hat hasn't been pounced.
Okay.
Now there's another step after the hat is pounced that some hat makers, what they'll do is they'll spray the hat with a light coating of alcohol and then set the hat on fire. And what that does is that burns all of the loose fibers off of the hat, which really gives it a smooth, and you can let it burn as long as you want it to burn, depending on what effect you want on it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so a typical wolf and fox hat,
Mm-hmm.
how long does it take you to from start to finish? How long? So people know when you give them a price, you know that they're not only paying for material, but they are paying an expert to do a job.
Definitely. A typical wolf and fox hat is probably about 10 to 12 hours. 10 to 12 hours that I've put into that hat.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so you do, so as far as the sewing and all of that, you do all of that by hand as well?
All by hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so we're very clear that this is a well-made, handmade
Handmade.
hat. Yeah.
Definitely. Everything is done. I started sewing. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandmother was a seamstress. And she at certain times she actually taught sewing in the Flint school system.
Okay.
You know, so I grew up standing on her shoulder. I grew up, you know, hemming pants and never got into making anything as far as clothing from scratch, but I could do alterations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. I wondered, did you have any background in sewing? But clearly, You did. You had a teacher. So
Just
now,
just a little bit. I hadn't sewn anything, and I didn't even have. I had her sewing machine, but I took it to have it repaired so I could start using it. And they told me, "Man, this thing is so old. We can't even get parts for it."
wow.
All
Well,
right.
that's one of those things that you just place in the case and say, this was the inspiration
Yeah,
on
yeah,
how I got here. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the end result, especially now, but we don't necessarily see someone's failures and we just see the success. And I think
right,
the failure is a good lesson as long as you don't repeat it.
exactly.
And I think we tend to miss. And I think this opportunity that we have to get a chance to speak with you from the ground level, and as you build, it gives people a chance to see you can do whatever it is you set your mind to. You just gotta be dogmatic about, I am going to do this, because there was no way that I probably would have bet a paycheck that you've been doing this 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And you told me a year, and I'm like, good gracious, 6 or 7 years, it'll be master level hat maker. So
I appreciate that.
um it's good.
Yeah,
Thank
that definitely exudes the passion that you have for it. So yeah, I definitely look forward to getting something.
All right, all right.
Absolutely.
I look
Cool.
forward to
Yeah.
making something for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
So now,
probably the next pair of wallabies is definitely going to be something special.
Okay.
let's kind of delve into the background. We got wolf and fox hats, but so how does this is this might be a two-part question. So how does one go from answering calls for service on a daily basis
Mhm.
to transitioning to, and you're very eloquent when you stated that once you retired, you do things when you get ready, not when somebody else wants you to. So,
Right,
but
Mhm.
right.
how do you, from answering calls for service on the streets of Flint for 24 years, get into, I don't want to say, and not that delicate is a derogatory word, but such a precise and antiquated, um as the hat making process is. How do you go from that extreme to, oh, I'm finna bang these hats out and y'all gonna love them?
Right,
How does
right.
that transition go? How does that come about?
Um, I think the way it came about was, um, again, as I stated a few minutes ago, I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents were the type of people that were always in business, always trying to better the community and better their own lives through entrepreneurial type ventures. And so I was raised in a home with business owners. My police career of 24 years was a job. Most people don't look at a police career as a job. That particular job was no different than somebody going to GM for 35 years. It was no different from somebody working for Comcast or somebody, it put me in a position where I was able to be interjected in the lives of people that could hear something that I had to say.
Mm.
And again, I go back to my grandparents, because they were caring people. I was always a caring police officer, even though I had to do some things as a police officer that some people might say, man, that was foul. Even in the foulness, there was still me caring at the end of this. This is just a job. So to go from police officer to, as you put it, something, as delicate and intricate as hat making, I go back to my grandparents again. They came from that generation where they were extremely stylish people. My grandfather always had custom suits with the matching trench coat. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother always had the the alligator purse and the right dress with the matching alligator shoes, different things like that. So I grew up in a home with style. So I never fell out of that, even though I was a police officer.
Okay.
So it just kind of flowed. Hats are about style. As we stated in the very beginning, whatever your style is, there's a hat for you. You know. Now, what really got me into making hats, the way I'm making hats is from the style perspective again, but style has taken a transition with young brothers being able to rock certain styles that some of the older people might say, boy, why your pants so short? You know what I'm saying? Boy, wear your socks. They in there, big mama. I got some no-shows on, you know, but I just need to show my ankles, and my pants are, you know, really by style standards, my pants are what, 2 inches too short?
Yeah.
You know. So again, I never transitioned out of having a little style. I may not have had a lot, but just a little. And again, hats are about style again. Yeah.
Okay. And for the record, I just want to say that, full disclosure, when I first moved back from Seattle, I met Al, and he was the school resource officer at my high school that I graduated from, which is Northern. And I was first just getting into coaching, and it wasn't until, I used to come up there and I was kind of the dean of discipline. I mean, I still am to this day, but I would come up to the school and I would walk around and like, what you doing out of class? What you doing? What you doing? And just the level of care that he saw that, and he finally was like, man, you just go do what you're doing. I see you out here working. And it was like I was right on the cusp of doing it or not doing it because I felt weird. Nobody really knew me, but he was like, just, man, come do what you got to do. And it was from that now, all the kids that I deal with, all that I've dealt with over the last 9.5, almost 10 years now, are getting that same level of care and concern just through something as simple as telling me to come do what I know I should, what we should all be doing, and helping to keep these young men, going in the right direction. So I just want to thank you for that. I mean, because
appreciate that.
You probably didn't know that you did that, but you did, and it was second nature, because you could have easily been like, nah, boom, get out, but you saw somebody trying to do something and vice hinder them. You kind of said, just do what you got to do, and that's big. And I think that's big now as a culture, because I think there's a generational gap there that we're missing, where we grew up and how we grew up, it was, you were kind of browbeaten submission, and I'll tell you what to say when you get ready.
Right.
And I think we're missing, and I think that's why we suffer a lot, as far as between generations, because there's these kids now, they actually have opinions, you know what I'm saying? And it matters to them that they're necessarily heard. They don't necessarily have to be right, but they have to be heard. But just that care that you introduced while you were still active, has carried on, and I try to continue to carry that on. And I just, and it's just, that's what this podcast and this channel is about, is being able to encourage and speak to the generation that we're supposed to be leading. Right. Because at some point they have to lead the next generation. I think, getting stuff like this out, so whenever they come around to it, they're like, oh man, I need to see if I can find me a hat, because I always appreciate seeing these young men dressed up. Now, can I pull off something like they do? No. Right. Not in there. But just to see them clean up and, be sharp. Right. That's the end goal, man. So I said all of that just to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Man. Well, to all of you brothers, keep doing what y'all doing. you know, because I got y'all by a few years, I think. So what we have to understand is I won't be able to reach the same crowd that y'all can reach. So continue to do what you are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I know, Clevin, you got, you have your ear to the streets, man. And I know, just through talking to you every day, I know how interact with these young guys, and sometimes it's, the worst circumstance, but a lot of times, man, you give them an opportunity that nobody else would afford them,
Exactly.
and I, I just thank you for that, because like I said, sometimes people just need a chance. They may not have it all together right then, but at least be on your way, or at least have heard it. You know what I'm saying? So you can refer back to it in a quiet moment, because a lot of times they don't have these young men that are out here. They don't have any knowledge to refer back on,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
want to be that positive light and that positive knowledge, and and just say, hey, man, you can't keep doing what you're doing and expecting this result, because it's not going to always work out that way. So
Right.
I appreciate that.
yeah, so I think we're coming to a close. I think we've had quite the education in
Mhm.
the hat game.
Absolutely. So how do we purchase, contact, get in contact, view, sneak peek? How do we get a Wolf and Fox hat?
Sneak peeks. Our website will be up and running here in the next, probably the next 30 days or so. And that website is wolfandfox.co. Wolfandfox.co. Um, so basically, what will happen is if you see something on the website that you desire, there will be about 10 hats on the website that will be for sale. Again, only doing those 10 that you'll see up there for sale in probably 4 or 5 different sizes. So there won't be any more than about 5 of each one of those. I'm not going to produce 10 or 15 of those hats. So, you won't be at the club in Dallas, Texas and run into somebody with your hat. It's just not possible.
That's the best kind of
So
hat to have.
right.
Mhm.
So the website, or uh, if you know somebody who has a Wolf and Fox hat, more than likely they will have my number, and you can get my number from them, and we'll start discussing the process, and I'll get some measurements, and we can go forth with getting you a Wolf and Fox hat. I haven't even started taking orders as of yet. I won't start taking orders probably until sometime in September. And because I believe the orders are going to flow in, um, it will probably be 4 to 6 weeks for a from order time to delivery of the hat. And that again is only because I'm the business.
You're one of one.
I'm one of one. I'm doing the marketing. I'm doing the design. I'm doing the sweat and stretching and the steaming and the sewing. So when you get a Wolf and Fox hat, it will be a hat that was produced solely by my hands. Every step of it. Every step of it.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
For is there for people out there? Are there hats for different seasons?
There are hats for different seasons. You have a felt hat, which can be worn anytime if you can handle the heat of wearing a felt hat in the summertime. Now, the reason why I say anytime is because, of course, during the evening, sometimes it cools off.
Mhm.
And during the evening, sometimes is when we are kind of getting ourselves together to go out to dinner, go out and hang out, whatever it may be. And if it's a little bit cooler, you can wear a felt hat.
Okay.
Strictly summer hats are straw hats. You see the straw hats. James, I've seen you in a straw hat. Those hats are strictly for the summertime.
Yeah, I'm a sweater, and I know that, so I could never, I
Yeah,
could never put a piece of fur. Well, I don't care what they could have
Right.
holes in it. I could never.
exactly.
So yeah,
And that's me as well. When I wear one of my hats out in the summertime, it's because I know I'm going into, a cool restaurant and the air is going to be on and I can get away with it. Or, I'm going out with some friends to a, a lounge or something like that. And I can get away with wearing a hat, a felt hat anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
All right, in that, I have one last question
Mhm.
out of that nature. So, when you are designing a hat and it takes the characteristics of what it is and then the flavor and the sauce, what does Al listen to while he's making the hat?
Mm.
Man, it
Mm,
varies. It varies. My listening taste are depending on how I feel. I might be listening to worship music, some Tasha Cobb, some Todd Delaney. But on the flip
Okay.
side of the coin, it might be a Bobby Womack day. You just never know.
okay.
Mhm.
Al Green, The Whispers.
Mhm.
At the same time, it might be some. I won't say this too loud, but it might be some yacht rock.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
some Gregory Porter. So my
Okay.
listening range is
Pretty.
all over the place,
Okay.
Okay.
all over the place, except hard rock and roll. I don't mess around with hard rock and roll.
Okay.
I just that's just not for me.
Okay. So
But
what is?
but I will make somebody a hard rock and roll hat. We can work that out.
Okay.
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 All right.
Yeah,
So what
definitely.
is? So what is? I don't know. Maybe you do have one, but what is your absolute go to? I'm finna put this on, and this, I'm whatever it need to be done,
Uh-huh.
gonna get done. What is that song that you can go put on and you like? Oh, I know I'm finna get some work in today.
I'll give you an artist, not a song.
Okay.
Mm.
Gregory Porter.
Okay.
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 Are
Very
you brothers
familiar.
familiar with Gregory
Yeah,
Porter?
very familiar. Yeah,
I'm not.
I like him. I like him. He,
Gregory
I,
Porter.
he had, I don't know. It's something about his spirit, man, that just
Yeah.
kind of it
Yeah.
just settles you, man. Like
Yeah.
it's so subtle, man. Dante, you got to go just YouTube something real quick
I will.
after this,
I will.
Oh, we
and
gonna do
and
that. Okay.
and it
Definitely am.
will, I'm telling you, you're gonna be like, okay, I can jam with this. All right, so this the last question, man, and then we're going to give you your time back. But so I stole this question from another podcast, but I believe that this question is very relevant, and I like to hear people's answers.
Okay.
So 5 people, dead or alive, you can have dinner with. Who you having dinner with?
Number
You and
one on
5.
my 5 people. Number one on my list would be Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Hands down, flat out.
Okay.
Number 2 on my list, dead or alive. I lost my mother when I was 24.
Okay.
I lost my father in 2010.
Okay.
I'm gonna say my mother and father.
Okay.
That's 3 people.
Yep, that's 3.
Who would 4 and 5 be? Hadn't thought about it. Hadn't thought about it.
Hey, three's a good number. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with
I
it.
think
Yeah.
Three's a good
you
number.
know, I think that's it. Again, my parents did not raise me. They were in my life. My grandparents raised me.
Okay.
But I think I would really want to, sit down and talk to my parents about things that I have pondered and thought about over the course of all these years since both of them have been deceased.
Okay.
So that would be more so of a me picking their brain to see where their brain was.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, which would probably in turn give me closure in certain areas of my life. So yeah, those three people right there.
Gain understanding.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, gain some understanding.
yeah.
It does a lot. It does a lot. But so, I mean, that's a wrap.
Yeah,
I
Right.
won't.
it was an honor.
I mean, that's a great. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
we had a King's King on the show. And like I said, I thank you, man. I
I
thank you
appreciate you, brothers.
for the time and opportunity. You are our very first interviewee, guest, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
You are our first. So it's always good to have a first, and especially a good first. So we
All right, I appreciate that.
appreciate you joining the Brotherhood. As always, we ask you to go over to YouTube
Okay.
and like, comment, and subscribe on the Brotherhood page so you can see
Okay.
new content like this first and you get notifications. Hit that little bell underneath there and you will get notified when we upload. So it is with every intention that this should be out sometime tomorrow. I'm shooting for sometime in the early evening around prime time. Of course, I will shoot you a text, but that's a wrap, man. We're good.
All right.